Obviously, there are a lot of big world events we're going to be breaking down and a lot of huge news stories that have been ignored because of the tragic bombing attacks in Boston and now the ensuing government power grab orgy that is going on. The total wide-open border amnesty, 800-page plus bill, CISPA passing the House, Russian or Chinese-style net censorship, in the words of tech analyst Declan McCullough at CNET News. I mean, even Google says it's draconian. That is rocketed through the House. Homeland Security to be given even more autonomous power from the more and more ceremonial Congress. Manipulations of gold downward. Definitely the big mega banks are using paper gold in naked shorts to drive down the physical gold to hide the inflationary thing going on with paper currencies. We've got that. We've got federal furloughs hitting nation's biggest airports. We've got all the latest on the bombing. It is all coming up today. And former NSA analyst and before that submarine warfare expert. And, of course, he worked for a bunch of other big companies and has been reporting on congressional national security issues for over a decade. Wayne Madsen is going to be giving us his take on this situation. And we also have Joel Skousen on, who was on a few days after this happened last week, also a national security analyst of substantive gravitas. Joel Skousen will be joining us in the last 30 minutes of the transmission today to give us his take on all of this. But regardless of whether this is a staged event or not, you know this power structure is coming after your liberty, coming after your freedom. You know that. And you know they're going to sell tens of billions of dollars of robots. And you know they're going to sell more armored vehicles. And you know the military-industrial complex, most of it foreign, is going to use this to turn America upside down. Now, obviously, day one it happened. I said, let's look for drills. Let's look for stand-downs. Let's look for multiple patsy groups. Let's look for setups. And let's follow who they say they believe it is. And the media said it's going to be a right-winger lone wolf. And they said, okay, they've made an arrest. Our word is right-wing lone wolf. You gun owners are going to get the blame. We got you. But because of all the photos out there, I think the evidence is clear. They said, okay, we haven't made an arrest. We're letting the person go. We're shutting the courthouse down. Panic, kick the media out. And then the next day, bring out the patsy photos. And people are like, oh, but they said they had a firefight with them. Now witnesses, and these articles are up at Infowars.com, say, no, the naked guy being put in the car was the older brother. No, they later saw him get run over by the police. And then you notice the younger brother gets out of the boat, climbs out of the boat, and then minutes later is getting what looks like a tracheotomy. And now he can't talk too good. And I'm sure after enough electroshock therapy, he'll say whatever they want. These guys clearly, and this fits the exact MO we've seen, are double agents, triple agents. And the Israeli press, Deb Kafile, is saying that. Now, people will say, how dare you say it wasn't a totally staged deal? That is a stage deal. I mean, 7/7, they were young, secular-style Muslims mainly, liberals, who it looked like were getting extra paychecks with MI5 and MI6. Well, that came out. And were being handled by a SWAT, a high-level al-Qaeda operative who was also MI6 and is still allowed to travel in and out of England. He reportedly was their handler. Now, that's London Telegraph, Fox News. And again, that's just one case I'm giving you. It's the same story over and over again. Look at Benghazi, arming the al-Qaeda. Look at what they're doing right now in Libya and Syria. And then when they attack us...
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com. And don't forget, it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.
I want to try to be calm here and then open the phones up to take your phone calls until the bottom of the next hour when Wayne Madsen, journalist, award-winning researcher, former NSA analyst, joins us, National Security Agency analyst, and then Joel Skousen of World Affairs Brief, Marine Corps aviator, researcher, nephew of Cleon Skousen, obviously, and the Naked Communist. He is going to be joining us as well to give us his latest breakdown on all of this. The big question is where to begin today. I told you over the weekend what the big news would be that Glenn Beck was going to be putting out about the Saudi Arabian, and it's that the White House is involved in a cover-up. Now, they could be doing that cover-up to create a rabbit trail to Saudi Arabia. Even though the foreign Saudi press is reporting this Saudi gentleman that was injured, the young man, is hooked into the royal family and did get visited by Michelle Obama. And there was an emergency meeting with the Saudi foreign minister, and the files of this guy are being altered and changed. That's coming out, and they are planning to deport him. They are planning to deport them. So dead men tell no tales, and people deported back to their own country obviously will tell no tales, at least where the media can pick it up here. Now, all that said, I'm going to address that later because I put a video out on it yesterday, predicted what would be released because it was already released. It was already in the news last Friday that the White House is covering this up in a bunch of other newspapers. And it's already in the news that the White House is acting very suspicious. Now, getting away from that report right now and getting into the big issues that we're looking at right now. We can punch this up for TV viewers. The aunt says that the older brother, she says the naked man in the video being seen put in the patrol car is him. The other brother was partying and you know, the night before all this happened, like he normally did, you know, drinking and smoking pot and stuff, according to his friends. Was not a practicing Muslim, by the way. But they were pretty full of themselves and had a lot of extra money. You also, again, now have witnesses in the local news. These articles and videos are up on Infowars.com. We're going to be breaking those down. Saying that again, they tend to throw news articles up on screen. I tend to look at those articles, start reading those articles, and getting distracted. The article I'm going to put up, is my computer punched up right here? Because this is the one I want to put up here. Yeah, the aunt claims naked man in video is him. And then you look at the video and you see the face on the person going into the car. It looks just like them. And then you've got other local news and witnesses reporting that the police ran him over in the car and sat there pumping rounds into him on the ground. And if you look at what happened to the other brother, he's reportedly in the boat. I was listening to the police scanner live 5 minutes before I went live Friday night at about 6:50. I went on early because I was listening to the police scanner you know, via Ustream, actually watching it. The guy had the Ustream set up there in Boston with the scanners, with millions, 2 million people were listening to it when I was watching it, with the camera on the scanner. And the police were freaking out that media had gotten into a warehouse across a body of water nearby and were videotaping what was going on with live feeds. And obviously, you then started seeing that on the news. And then they pumped a bunch of bullets, looks like hundreds of bullets if you look at the boat, into it, obviously trying to kill him. Then they get over there, and then the police are panicking because now media they tried to keep out had footage of what was happening. So they pumped hundreds of rounds in, obviously trying to kill him. Then he stands up miraculously. And don't worry, though, 5 minutes later, he's being trached, and they're cutting into his throat to save him. And then they've sedated him. And then now he's reportedly And again, all these articles I'm mentioning are up on Infowars.com. Then they start interrogating him now. The special national security feds that are there, these are people on record that will torture children in front of their parents to get fake confessions. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed confessed to bombing buildings that weren't built until 4 years after he was already in jail. He might have confessed to killing Jesus 2,000 years ago. He might have confessed to killing Lincoln and blowing up the Lusitania and firebombing the Reichstag in Germany in 1933. He might have confessed to, being mean to Santa Claus one Christmas morning. Again, fake confessions, fake news, fake WMDs, fake. Now, again, there's so many data points here. I'm going to try to go over all of these for you, but here's what we know. The FBI 5 years ago visited the families of these young men to cover their butts, as they normally do, to create a history and a ledger that they were indeed watching the older brother and then recently the younger brother. 2.5 years ago, in 2011, they visited them because the Russians blew their cover. That's what the Russians do, and said, we're putting in a national security Interpol complaint on these brothers going to Dagestan and going to Chechnya. And by the way, they're using aliases. And we know that through Interpol. Because the West has spent billions of dollars in Dagestan and in Chechnya and in surrounding areas, funding what is known as the Jihadi Wahhabist Crescent. And they have a man known as the Chechen bin Laden. Guys, type in Chechen bin Laden. This is who the brothers went to try to make contact with. And so they could get in and out of the country. Magically, they were able to get on aircraft and things with fake names. And now there's a whitewash going on that. Now, I told you it would end up that they had intelligence connections, not just FBI visits. Now, you want to go further? Because this is the biggest piece of the puzzle of hundreds that no one is even talking about. The FBI had them under surveillance for 5 years, probably CIA or maybe even foreign intelligence running these guys. Again, who's funding al-Qaeda publicly? Again, who just gave $100+ million last week to the Syrian rebels, the State Department? It's over $1 billion now total the last 2.5 years they've given them publicly. That's known al-Qaeda being funded to, again, take over countries. What is the West doing to Russia? Radicalizing Muslims, but also sending in infiltrators to keep tabs on them. And who do they use? Young men from England and the United States and Germany. Now, these guys suddenly had money. They suddenly, they were flashy, always dressing like playboys, going through women like they were Cracker Jacks. These are not practicing Muslims. And that's why their father says it's a setup and that they've been set up. Do you understand that, ladies and gentlemen? This is just like Muhammad Atta, at the strip bar 2 nights before, who it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that these guys were absolutely being protected. So let's go over this for everybody here. The FBI is saying, did not know who they were. Here are their photos. Help us find them. We don't know who they are. Here's video. Here's photos. We don't know who they are. And I could watch the video and say, there is clearly a Fed putting his earpiece in and talking. And because these guys all think they're James Bond, they act overly, tough and cool into the role. You see the cops all posing and sticking their jaws out as they order citizens out of their houses at gunpoint. This is all part of drama queening. And there's feds in that video they released, clearly drama queening, playing the part of secret agent. When they should have had their shirts hanging out, should have been picking their nose, should have been sitting there with a whiskey bottle, in a bag, and then like picked up a phone and dialed it like they were mentally ill. Then you wouldn't have been spotted, feds. You should have been sitting there with trash all over the ground, up against that wall with a beer can. Instead, you're playing secret agent. I mean, you guys are a joke. Because it's all part of your template that you've arrived. I go to 007 movies and stuff, and like half the theater is filled with cops. I went to Olympus Has Fallen, and it was just full of cops. Full of cops. And walking out, I said, hey, you're cops. And they're like, how do you know that, Jones? And I'm like, come on. Look at your body language. You're in here for your brainwashing download of the imaginary terrorists that are everywhere, and you're Hercules fighting the seven-headed Hydra. I mean, you're there in a brainwashing chamber, being brainwashed to be given ancestral programming, psychological programming of simulated terror attacks that do not exist. And the cops have like tears in their eyes in these movies, and cops are listening, you know, you go into it, and they're all sitting back watching in the theater, while the real war, by the way, is going on all around you. You go and you watch Batman fight the terrorist. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And that's all this is. So I'm going to try to regroup. I mean, I'm doing a pretty good job, I think, but it's just my mind is exploding in thousands of directions, and try to just give you the timeline. That's probably the best way. I did a great presentation right before I went live on air. I had Rob Dew recording me so we can get all the documents together to get me ready for a special report tonight on the Nightly News. And I recorded it onto his iPhone audio of the whole timeline. And I just gave dozens of points. And then once I get on air, I've only gone over basic ones. But I haven't gotten to the big enchilada yet, or I didn't point it out properly. They knew who these guys were when they released their photos to you. Oh, help us. Here's the only guys you have to look at. Who are they? You know who they are. They were at least double agents. This is the end. They sure needed to hunt down both brothers and kill them. And they sure thought they'd killed him after they pumped hundreds of rounds into the boat. But unfortunately, I was listening to the police scanner live via Ustream from Boston. They were like, oh my gosh, the media's got a fix on the boat. Get in there and get that media out of there. But then the younger brother climbed up out of it and climbed out. And so they were unable to, I guess, burn him down or shoot him like they did Dorner to make sure we never find out what really happened. So then they had to get him down on the ground and do, I guess, a tracheotomy, it looked like, on him to make sure. They said he may never be able to talk, but he's communicating with investigators. I'm sure he'll confess very quickly. If they have to, they'll waterboard his mother in front of him. And again, I'm not saying they might not have actually been part of the drill, planted something. They could even be real double, triple agents, as Debka file in Israel is reporting. But what I told you is now confirmed. There was a big, fat drill with 400 military, just National Guard, a bunch of other military in plain clothes, FBI, 2,000 police on that route, and hundreds of them at the end, and it didn't protect you. So I don't want to lose my rights. And by the way, the martial law isn't what caught him. It was outside the search cordon area of much of the city. And it turned out finally, after the people were allowed out of their lockdown, it's all prison planet training. You know, you're locked down, when they say in the city now. Don't come out of your homes for your security. Terrorists are in the area. That's how they live in communist and fascist countries. They just announce when you can't come out of your home or when there's a daytime or nighttime curfew. But it's all for your safety, of course. It's all for your safety, of course. It's all to stop the drug dealers, too, when the government ships the drugs in. They create the crisis to offer the solution to run our lives. And then the neighbor, you know, looks out and sees the boat and sees the blood on it. And, oh, because the lockdown had been lifted, he wouldn't dare go out while the lockdown was on. He sat there and looked at the blood on the boat and everything and waited. And when the lockdown was over, he went out to look and thought he saw somebody in there, so he went and called the police. He followed his orders. Man, I'm telling you, if the police announced, you're locked down in Austin, do not leave your home, you know what, I'm going to go out. I've had enough of the stinking government. By the way, you're running Al-Qaeda and everybody knows it. 130-something mil. You guys pull up this Associated Press. It's from my stack yesterday. 130+ mil given to the Syrian rebels last week. Al-Qaeda murdering Christians en masse. And then here's the big smoking gun of a bunch of them. I'm going to try to walk through this. I'm going to do the timeline in the next segment. I'm so wound up today. U.S. providing, $123 million more in aid. That's Politico. I guess the last funding was $130 million. To Al-Qaeda. You know, I wish somebody locked Washington down and we could arrest all the criminals there. You know, it's one thing the police say, we believe a bank robber's on this block. Please don't come out of your home in this area. But when you lock down most of a city and then outside the city, it's a joke, folks. It's a bunch of grandstanding. Military coming to your house, coming in, and I've got all these videos up on Infowars.com of pointing guns at people. And it's all part of their cult. Government always creates cults of doing what we say. And finally, every culture says, bring your firstborn up to the temple, we're going to cut their heart out tomorrow. And people say, government said so. So you bring your little kid, the Druids, you bring your little kid out to a bonfire. That's where the term bonfire comes from. They'd have it sizzling hot. And they'd grab the kid by the arms and legs, usually like 10-year-olds. That was one of the most popular with the Druids. You know, young boy. And 1, 2, 3. Throw them into a big fire. Isn't that nice? And government said so. I mean, they're doing it for your safety. The crops won't grow if you don't do it. We come back, I'm going to settle down and go through it all. I've got to just settle down here. Thousands of 9-month-old babies reportedly butchered until the sewage lines always had to be pumped out with their little parts. And guess who? When I saw this, I didn't believe it. I went and looked it up, and it's true. Guess who owns the abortion clinic where they where they would put babies in the toilet to drown, and they would struggle and try to swim and fight for their lives? Oh, guess who? The Attorney General. Anything dirty and bad, they're involved in it. Fast and Furious, you name it, but they wouldn't be involved in this.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Tyranny is here. The grim future foretold in 1984 has become reality.
It really says that the state is God.
The United States is now recognized globally as one of the most oppressive police states on Earth. This film conclusively proves the existence of a secret network of FEMA camps, now being expanded nationwide. This documentary exposes how the continuity of government program has established an all-powerful shadow state. Police State 4 chronicles the sickening depths to which our republic has fallen. Prepare to enter the secretive world of emergency dictatorship. Body scanners, sound cannons, citizen spies, stage terror, and cameras on every street corner. It's only the beginning of the New World Order's hellish plan. The police state isn't coming. It's here. Secure your copy today at Infowars.com or see it online in the highest quality at PrisonPlanet.tv.
Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.
If you want an American company with American products made by Americans, here it is.
The Cal Ben Soap Company. Alex's staff have been using these all-natural, earth-friendly, pure soaps for years, and they are the best. See them on the web at www.5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Then order the sampler, 1 to 2 month supply. You will be getting soap products twice as good as what you are using now at a great price and supporting an American company in the process. Earth-friendly and all-American. Their soaps are made from vegetable and coconut oils. Call 1-800-340-7091 or visit www.5starsoap.com. Cal Ben Pure Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. See it on the web, www.5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
We are on the march. The Empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are showing video to TV viewers of what looks like about 20 police firing en masse with 223s and 308s over and over and over again into the boat. And then waiting about an hour and 45 minutes for him to bleed to death. By the way, there's even more of this footage, but it has cuss words over it, so you're only seeing about half of it, the sustained fire, where it appears they load and reload their clips 3 or 4 times. Let's be conservative, 15 officers or so. So you can see a whole line of flashes, or it looks about 50 yards, firing into the boat, hopefully killing Patsy number 2, while telling everyone that they sure wanted him to be alive. And then, of course, you've got the other brother. You've got the other brother. Reportedly now witnesses are saying, we have these videos up on Infowars.com, that they saw the police run over him and then fill his body full of holes. And the aunt and others are saying that it is video of the older brother, Tamerlan, being brought naked into the police car. And then I guess you just stage a firefight and then say that you killed him. Again, we're seeing all the signs, just like with Dorner, where they said, we're going to burn this mother effer up. Yeah, burn down that cabin. Burn it down. And then, okay, we've got the fire, placing the fire. It's on fire. Good. Mission completed. We burned him down. And a big celebration. And then we reported it, and the news said, Jones is a conspiracy theorist. There is no audio of them saying burn it down. That was that night. Then the next day they said, well, they said burn down the cabin, burn that mother effer down, but that doesn't mean burn it. Now, who's the conspiracy theorist, who's the liar, and who isn't? You all heard them on 6 different feeds, 3 different individuals talking about burning the mother effer down. And it is the same story here yet again. Here yet again today, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing the same thing happen with continued rapidity. Now, again, here's the giant trillion-pound enchilada. They told you, here's the photos. We've got to show you these photos. We've got to go over these photos because we don't know who these people are, and we need your help finding them. But don't look at any of the other photos of the obvious drill and obvious other patsies. And they've come out now, the FBI, and said, we didn't want people looking at other stuff. It was going to cause a problem. Oh, yes, I know it was, because you lied about there being a drill. And they're lying to people saying they didn't know who they were. Here are the articles. Boston bomber. FBI dropped the ball over Tamerlan The FBI was alerted by Russian security services to serious new concerns about one of the Boston bomb suspects as recently as November. It was claimed on Sunday night. And since then, the FBI has indeed admitted to all of that. And, of course, they were talking to their family about them for 5 years. The Russians blew their cover 2.5 years ago saying, why are you letting these guys go in and out of these terrorist-controlled areas? We think this guy's suspicious. They should. Kurt Nimmo wrote an article about it on Sunday, actually Saturday, about the State Department funding billions of dollars to the bin Laden of Chechnya, that this gentleman, brother number one, the older dead brother, dead men tell no tales, that he reportedly worked with. So he reportedly was under the influence and was inspired by Chechen warlord on State Department payroll, who the FBI had been following and talking to now for 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. By the way, the family said 5 years before they admitted 2.5 years, and now 5 years is confirmed. So they were on these guys forever, but they released photos and videos saying, gee, we don't know who they are, when you could see feds watching them in the doorway as they walk by. Was Boston bomber inspired by Russia's bin Laden? Mother claims FBI tracked older brother for 5 years after told by Moscow of links to Chechen terrorist. Well, yeah, Moscow was blowing his cover. That's how agencies get rid of somebody without killing them and starting a new Cold War, is they simply say, hey, here's your agents, knock it off. Now, it gets worse. Here is the Huffington Post, and here is Politico. But they hide this in plain view. Representative Mike Rogers, Tamerlan may have traveled to Russia under an alias. Under an alias. Mike Rogers, the older brother, may have traveled to Russia under an alias, and it's not really Russia. It's to Uzbekistan and to Chechnya, and the Russians came and said, this guy looks like he's one of your people, get him out of here. Lindsey Graham says, wrong name hid the Russia trip. Oh, the senator is helping us understand exactly why that happened. It is so frustrating. I mean, can't there ever be a bombing where, let me show TV viewers, and for radio listeners, I will, simply give you the headline on this. You can see it all for yourself. Terror expert, London bombings mastermind is MI6 asset. We have that article saved. It was from the London Daily Telegraph, and then there's Fox News under it. You just search MI6 agent 7/7 bombings. 7/7 London bomber, MI6 agent. That was, by the way, John Loftus, former head of counterterrorism for the FBI. So there's just some of the headlines. Democratic Underground, London bombing mastermind, an MI6 agent. Daily Mail, MI6 told agent it couldn't kill al-Qaeda. London bombing ringleader, Harun Rashid Aswat, double agent. He wasn't a double agent. He was allowed to fly in and out of the country for years after the bombing, and it turned out is an MI6 officer. Not an asset, not an agent, an officer. Let me say it again. An officer of MI6 commanded, to quote Destro. All you cops think you're G.I. Joe. You actually work for Cobra. But look how simple that is, that you work for Cobra, and you don't even know it. The government is Cobra. We here at Cobra sow chaos to bring order and weapon sales. See, it's all a big joke, all in your face. Look how the police dress like Cobra. And all the children watching that, everybody thought Cobra was cooler. You were all being imprinted. All being imprinted with predictive programming. Cobra brings in a world government. Cobra gets rid of gold, brings in cashless systems. Cobra brainwashes kids through television. Have you watched those old 80s cartoons? Cobra currency. Hail Cobra. That's what the intelligence agencies are. They run the narcotics, they run the snuff films, they run the little kids, they run all of it, and they get caught running all of it, and it doesn't even matter. And they get caught running these guys, and I said, whoever these patsies are, they're going to kill them. But they pumped, I don't know, if you blow that video up where they're shooting, it goes on for about 40 seconds, and there's a line of guns that looks like it's about 50 yards long, back through the trees. You can see the flashes. And you can tell they're firing from drums. They're firing from 30-round mags. And you can see some of the guns stopping for a second, 2 seconds as they reload, firing, probably 60 rounds to 100 rounds per person into that boat. And folks, show the bullet-ridden boat. Just type in bullet-ridden boat or the terrorist boat. And, I mean, there are bullet holes from 308 and 223 every half inch over the entire boat. Now, what was the mission there? Did they go pump tear gas in and say, come out with your hands up? By the way, the witnesses say he didn't shoot at him with his, quote, carbine. He was hiding in there, and they pulled up, and they unloaded. Because they were told, kill him. That's why they told the media, you cover this, we're going to kill you. That's why they told citizens, you come out of your house, you're dead. All right, let me just do this. Let me just take calls, and when I start the next hour, I'll do the timeline. Because I actually wrote some notes on this, and it's just so frustrating. But is anybody going to call the FBI on the big elephant in the room? They lied for 5 years, not 2.5. They knew who these guys were. And these guys clearly had fake identification and were allowed to travel in and out under aliases. I've interviewed the head of the U.S. Embassy visa section, Springman, look it up. Toronto Star was the first to break it in 2001, where they were ordered to let Mohammed Atta and the other 14 hijackers from Saudi Arabia back into the U.S. They were flagged as terrorists, and they said, we're not letting them in, and the State Department had the CIA call them and say, those are our agents, our assets. They're not terrorists. That's their cover. And then we've got Lieutenant Colonel Butler, the head of the Defense Language School at the time, going on the news, going to the newspaper and saying, 5 of the hijackers were in my school. Mohammed Atta and 2 others were in my class for a year. 2 semesters at the Defense Language School, 2 years before 9/11. He knew Mohammed Atta. He drank coffee with Mohammed Atta at the commissary and had lunch with him. Mohammed Atta sat 2 rows back for 2 semesters. And all the colonel said is, folks, the government was involved in this. These guys are patsies. Those hijackers on the news are U.S. government trained. Now, that's San Jose Mercury News. That's Associated Press. If the media is listening before all the White House organs, because, look, I know you work for the White House, Media Matters, and all the rest of you. It's on record you do. But most of you aren't real terrorists. Most of you aren't real criminal globalists. You probably wouldn't, hurt the neighbor's dog if you were offered $1 million. But see, just denying all this doesn't make you not guilty. When you sit here and go, Alex the crazy says the government ran the 9/11 hijackers, I don't know what really happened once they got on those airplanes. All I know is there was a stand-down ordered at NORAD, and whether it's 7/7, the London bombings, whether it's the Madrid bombings on 333 in 2003, whether it is 9/11, whether it is this event, whether it is the bombings in Afghanistan where the president comes out and says, yeah, your government is staging these terror attacks and runs Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Well, that all came out years ago. They took, here's the toll-free number, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. They took 11 to 14-year-olds and made them dig ditches around Kabul and the other 2 or 3 big cities in Afghanistan. And then they, under al-Qaeda orders, put them out there. And then the U.S. going in there with NATO did not attack any of the bases, any of the cities. if you go back to the time that was in the news, why aren't they targeting the leadership? They went and put innocent conscripts in there for a simulated attack because al-Qaeda and Taliban worked for the U.S. on record. This all came out. It's called the Airlift of Evil. And they killed tens of thousands of children that they gave AK-47s to fight Puff the Magic Dragon C-130s and drones and the rest of it. And they blew them all up as a simulation. They were just part of a simulation. They were real, dying. Then U.S. troops go in. They're not part of the cover story. They're just told what to do. And Taliban and al-Qaeda turn themselves in. They're loaded on C-130s, given chest of gold and weapons. And U.S. colonels, one colonel in Special Forces went public to the San Francisco Chronicle, said we were ordered to fly 30 to 40,000 of them over the mountains into Pakistan and give them weapons and gold. They showed up. I give up. Now give me gold. Give me gold now. And rocket launcher. You want us to take out Pakistan so you have excuse to... I'm giving a Russian accent, whatever. We'll do it for you. And we grow opium, yes. See, a faction of the Taliban was real and had cut opium production from 90% of world production in 2000 or 1999 to about 2001. It was 9% of world opium production. Within a couple of years, back to 93% of world opium production. 800-259-9231. And let's launch the phone system for me, guys. Thank you. Now, that's a daily drill. Now, continuing here, ladies and gentlemen, I see the same story like Groundhog Day, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then it comes out they've got aliases. It comes out they're being protected. It comes out they're bragging to people that they're hot shots. They're driving around with their buddies in cars that says terrorista on the license plate. I mean, this is rock star party time. And their dad comes out and says they were being handled for 5 years by intelligence groups. And I said Monday, before all this happened, I said, if somebody asks you to be part of a drill, invites you out to be part of a drill, it doesn't matter if the drill is even announced. They may blow stuff up and blame it on you. Do not take a bag. Do not be part of a drill. That's what happened on 7/7. That's what happened on the first World Trade Center attack in 1993. It came out in the New York Times that the FBI cooked the bomb, trained the driver, shut up the guys, gave them the detonator, and some evidence shows they thought they were part of the drill. We know the guy the FBI hired to cook the bomb was told it was a drill, and he goes, well, I thought it was supposed to be a dummy bomb. No, it's a real bomb. Here's the materials. Now here's a real detonator. Okay, now tomorrow's the bombing. Bust them. No, we're going to pull you off the case now. You're going to let the bombing go forward? We're going to let them park it and then stop them. And the CIA asset went, Ahmad Salam said, I think you're trying to set me up. I don't want to be part of this evil. And they said, just do what you're told. Do what you're told. The transcripts came out in court. A bunch of it got declared national security. Do what you're told. And you can imagine them telling the patsies, do what you're told, drop off these bags. You want more money for your girlfriends, don't you? Mr. Hotshot, Mr. Movie Star with your cool sunglasses. And then once their cover got blown, the mission was kill them.
Hi, Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources. With over 30 years of experience in the precious metals business, I can tell you without a doubt, we are facing the most dangerous and volatile times, not just in the United States, but worldwide. Peace of mind is gold and silver. Now is the time to invest in gold. When it comes to bullion coins, our prices are competitive and the closest to melt. If it's numismatics you're looking for, we have some of the best deals out there. Visit MidasResources.com today or go to Infowars.com and click on the link link to see our daily specials. Here's an example of one of our long-term specials we've been offering for more than a year. 2 silver dollars from the turn of the last century, plus 2 powerful films, The Obama Deception and The American Dream. We also add in the book Dishonest Money, all for $72 and free shipping. The most trusted name in precious metals is Midas Resources. Call 1-800-686-2237 or go to Infowars.com. I'm Ted Anderson with Midas Resources.
We are now only entering the edge of a global financial superstorm, the likes of which the planet has never seen. Here in the United States, the private Federal Reserve is giving more than $85 billion of taxpayer money a month to themselves and other offshore foreign banks. And the worst part is, we have to pay the bank's interest on the money we give them. There is now a race between the global central bank mafia cartels to see who can devalue their country's currencies the fastest. We are already seeing big increases in inflation at the grocery store and the gas line. This will eventually lead to hyperinflation. More than a dozen top globalists like George Soros have been buying record amounts of gold while at the same time bad-mouthing it to the public. Don't just listen to what they say. Watch what they do. For more than 6,000 years of recorded human history, gold has been the ultimate hedge against uncertain times and inflation. Before investing in metals, it is important to do your own research and find a reputable company. Midas Resources has the highest Better Business Bureau rating of an A+. Unfortunately, very few precious metal companies can boast that. Midas Resources has assembled one of the most educated, researched, and professional teams of brokers in the industry. The evidence is overwhelming. In uncertain times, gold and silver is safe harbor. Now is the time to invest in gold. Call 800-686-2237 and Midas Resources will mail you 10 reasons to own gold absolutely free. No shipping. It's absolutely free. And finally, Ted Anderson wants to challenge you to find any deal that comes close to his 2 silver dollars at cost with free shipping with 2 free films and a book for $72. That's more than $160 value for $72 shipping included. Click the link at Infowars.com to go to the MidasResources.com specials page. Brought to you by MidasResources.com and Ted Anderson, the trusted name in precious metals.
While we're busy distracted by the bombing and the martial law rollout that is happening, while all of that's going on, what else is unfolding? CISPA, that openly censors and tracks the internet and gets rid of the Fourth Amendment for an electronic, technotronic tyranny. That's been rammed through the House, ramming into the Senate, unprecedented evil. Open border promotion, total legalization, amnesty, you name it, 800-plus pages. A bunch of other draconian garbage is going on while we're all distracted by this. And again, babies are being aborted everywhere, including babies that can be adopted. But, oh, the media doesn't cry for them. The media doesn't get sad for them. It's only these 3 people that are dead, which they use as psychological trauma to scare everyone into going along with this tyranny. By the way, something I haven't gotten to yet, California gun confiscation bill passes, approves $24 million to expedite gun confiscation. By the way, that's not my headline. That's the Huffington Post. They're very excited about the gun confiscation. but nobody's coming for your guns. So that's coming up. Also, again, the baby swimming and fighting for its life in the toilet as they tried to basically cram it down the toilet. They got too lazy to even chop the babies up. And people are like, you know, we don't want to hear this. It's so horrible. Well, hearing it, how about doing it? And then people in the YouTube video I did about it are like, so what? Get out of a woman's life. It's a 9-month-old baby. There's more people that want to adopt than actually there are abortions every year. It would be better for the woman just to have the baby medically. It increases women's chance of getting cancer. And I just sit there and I watch how callous the so-called left is. They're not leftists. They're authoritarians. And they sit there and they make jokes about the dead baby. And they sit there and, you know, say, oh, the baby was exercising in the toilet. I saw comments on Infowars.com about get out of a woman's, bedroom, let the baby get exercise in the toilet. I bet you wouldn't have the nerve to sit there and chop those babies up on that table like hamburger or like barbecue. I bet you wouldn't have the nerve to throw that baby in the toilet and watch it struggle for its life and drown. It's part of this disconnected decadence that's overtaken our country, where the very same people say ban eating meat because it's bad to animals, and they call it cruel if someone butchers their own chicken. They're so disconnected. I see PETA all the time, saying arrest people that butcher their own chickens or whatever for animal cruelty. See, they think you're butchering a chicken because you're cruel, not because you've been raised to do it yourself. So they care about animals, but not about humans. And, of course, it's the environmentalists that have said kill babies up to age 3 for the earth. One thing is certainly clear. There is a massive cover-up going on surrounding the bombings of last Monday. And another thing is, sure, politically, they're going to use this to try to ban black powder or restrict its purchase. Again, somebody does something bad, so we all lose our rights. That's called authoritarianism, where you don't punish the individual, you punish the group. And one thing's also for sure, they use this for a martial law takeover drill. Absolutely disgusting. And they first said they were shooting rubber bullets into the boat, but they were real bullets. That's now admitted. And so we're going to be breaking all of this down. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. Too bad for the anti-gun people that tried to blame conservatives for this. That was what they were going to go with. Report, suspects not licensed to own guns. So I guess in that area, you got to have a bunch of licenses to get them. Didn't stop them, never stops anybody who's bad. You could ban all the guns for citizens today. Anybody could walk up to a cop with a ball-peen hammer, beat their brains out. It's easy, just bam, ball-peen hammer, you're out. Hit them twice more in the temple, they're dead. Take the weapon. That's why they hate veterans. The globalists hate veterans, because veterans know how easy it is to kill and have the initiative. They don't have the chicken neck ideas about it. Man, I tell you, being a domesticated, servile country now is really painful. But see, there's the problem. A bunch of us aren't servile. A bunch of us aren't brainwashed and cattle. A bunch of us know what's going on. Doesn't matter if you can get 51% to vote to take our guns or make us slaves again. It isn't going to work. Nick in Nevada, you're on the air. Welcome.
Yes, Alex. First of all, I just want to say that it is a truly honor and a privilege to finally get through and to talk to you on air. I've been waiting a long time to be able to get this opportunity, and I just want to say thank you.
Please don't thank me. Go. What's the info?
Well, we are living in September 11, 2001 all over again. We're seeing senators and presidents being sent letters laced with chemicals. We're seeing suspicious packages left everywhere, and all the mind control and all the fear-mongering that they put onto people is all for the purpose of having the full control over everybody. And now we're seeing it on a larger scale with the takedown and the takeover of Boston and the complete, martial law. And it's going to spread throughout the entire country. As they said, they will have more staged events coming up. And obviously, they're going to. They have gone this far. Who's to say that they can't go any further? And for anybody out there who thinks that the FBI does not set up these staged events is out of their minds, as the proof and the evidence is everywhere, and as they've come out and told us flat out, to our faces. And I remember also, too, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned how, more people need to stand up and more people need to bring awareness and talk about the New World Order and to shed the light onto people. And I just want to say that I started my own podcast as well, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to give that out on your show and have more people open their eyes, and that's distortedreality.podbean.com. And I'm doing the very best that I can locally here in Las Vegas to spread out the word on the New World Order, on the tyranny.
Sure, listen, I think it's good that you're doing that, and I always let people plug their shows here because my goal is to do that. But if we all just plug on my show, it only then basically communicates within the choir. It is important to go out and proselytize critical thinking, historical research, being aware of how things really work. Really, it's not being a chump and being street smart. People need to be street smart. That's what this show's really about, not being chumps, understanding how the world really works, getting informed about our number one enemy, the globalist. that are staging events and provocateuring events to take our liberties. You need to go to churches. You need to get on the radio locally. You need to start with an access TV show to point people at your alternative media system to grow that so that everybody's reaching people outside of who we've already woken up. But God bless you. I hear you, and I appreciate your call. Yeah, this broadcast is reaching conservatively now 15 million people a week, one way or another. And last week, it was more like, let's not exaggerate, 50 million people. We've had like 10 million extra YouTube views just on our YouTube channel. Land of the cowards, home of the slaves. That's what the globalists want us to be. We are not land of the coward, home of the slave, planet of the trendies, creation of the stupids. But you've got Bomb Threat USA, as Drudge Report calls it. Alabama, 3 hospitals. Connecticut, courthouse. Pennsylvania, shopping village. Iowa, neighborhood. Florida, office building. Man wearing camo shirt shuts down Philly Visitor Center. Camo has completely been in for 2 years. It just goes on and on. Drone industry invokes Boston bombings in PR pitch. Oh, yeah, billions in drones, billions in robots, billions in checkpoints, billions in armored vehicles. That's the type of stuff we have up at Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and I'm also covering what's at DrudgeReport.com. Meanwhile, WorldNet Daily reports Americans are snapping by the millions. I've been telling you this. Road raging, fighting, divorce is way up, suicide is way up. Yeah, you put 20% of the population on suicide pills, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and other antipsychotics and other antidepressants, they cause you statistically to commit suicide and mass murder. But the answer is more people on drugs. Roughly 20%, again, of the U.S. military, it's come out, is on these drugs while in combat. Oh, that's a good idea. Saudi national questioned after Boston bombing was on terror watch list. That's right. That's the big breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The Saudi was on a terror watch list and reportedly had 6 members of his family in Saudi Arabia on the Saudi Arabian terror watch list, and we broke that first here in the United States of America. I broke that Saturday on Infowars.com, and I broke it Sunday with a video that I put up, and now it is at townhall.com. That is the big Glenn Beck news, was that he was on a watch list. And again, that was in the foreign press Friday. I didn't find it till Saturday. Homeland Security was dragging its feet over Tamerlan's U.S. citizenship application. Yeah, I bet they were. And now the Cato Institute, the neocon libertarian group, is spinning the bombing, saying it's the reason to legalize illegals because they didn't come across illegally. But Americans are committing suicide and society is falling apart because we are in a deep depression. And people basically have television sickness because all the general public does is watch 8 hours of TV a day. Young people, it's even more. The average adult, it's like 5.5, 6 hours, but that's what they put on surveys. Some surveys show young people watch as much as 14 hours of TV and video games a day. And so right now they're having the perception of terrorists everywhere. So I'm going to tell you again, we called there'd be a big public terrorist event in this country. They try to blame on the Tea Party. Then they said they had someone arrested from the right wing. They were going to roll them out. The MSNBC and CNN celebrated. Then the photos of all the other patsies in the drill freaked them out. So they shifted to these other patsies, I believe, who I predicted would end up being U.S. intelligence assets. And now it turns out they had fake identification traveling in and out. Representative Mike Rogers, Tamerlan, may have traveled to Russia under alias. That's Huffington Post. And now they're saying, well, yes, he was able to get on with a fake name. It must have been a mistake. Yeah. You try getting on a plane. The underwear bomber was put on the plane by a U.S. agent. We broke that because we had Kurt Haskell on first. And he said, yeah, no, I saw a sharp-dressed man get him on the plane without a passport. And later it came out in Congress, a U.S. intelligence agencies ordered the State Department to get them on the plane. And the State Department had so much power that the The European airport in Amsterdam, the Dutch airport, took the orders and put him on. Then a firecracker went off in his pants, showing Land of the Free, Home of the Brave. Oh, my gosh, the scanners ordered a year before that were going in the next week. They said, we just are going to put these scanners in because of this, which they already have been ordered for a year. The whole thing is scripted. The whole thing is rolled out. And now they said on Wednesday and Thursday, on Thursday, here's their photos. We don't know who they are. Here's the video. We don't know who they are. And it turns out 5 years ago they knew who they were. And it turns out they were following them. And it turns out they'd met with them 2.5 years ago. And it turns out that the family said they were absolutely hooked in with the FBI. Well, yeah, the FBI was just running a local investigation to cover up for their intelligence connection, just like 7/7 was run by a SWAT, the MI6 officer. And they set the patsies up and said it was a drill. What did I tell you Monday before the bombs went off? I said, if anybody wants you to be part of a drill carrying a simulated explosive, don't be part of it. I had family in counterterrorism, and of course, this was a big public event at Camp Mabry, and I was invited a few years ago to go see them practice taking out terrorists in a simulated bombing. And I said, are you kidding? And they're like, come on, don't be paranoid. It's been announced. It's public. I'm not, no. I'm not getting anywhere near one of these drills. And this was for the general public with a guy with a beard acting like he had a bomb and the helicopters come in and stop him and all this stupid stuff. You know, oh, yes, keeping us safe. Our government, just like Mohammed Karzai said, runs Taliban and al-Qaeda, and they run them in Libya and Syria, and they just gave them $123 million last Friday to al-Qaeda in Syria to offensively attack that government and those people and make fathers suicide bomb or they kill their whole family. And there are videos of men, women, and children being thrown off roofs and having their heads chopped off. God bless Rand Paul right now. You know, he's been speaking out against the drones and everything else. And Rand Paul is now urging Reed McConnell to stall immigration reform after Boston, which is amnesty. So Rand Paul's taking action. By the way, we're going to get Rand Paul back on. I want you guys go after Rand Paul. Last time they just called us and said we want to have him on. I want to get him on about all this, and I want Ron Paul. So please fire political torpedoes of love and get them both on the show. That's a pretty silly joke I just told, isn't it? All right, anyways. Man, I tell you, this is just so ridiculous. We got Wayne Madsen, award-winning journalist and formerly of the National Security Agency, joining us to give us his take at the bottom of the hour. And then Joel Skousen of World Affairs Brief, who day one said it has all the signs of false flag. He's going to be on. Everyone I respect, like Joel Skousen and people like... I mean, there's so many folks out there saying it has all the signs of false flag, but Steve Pachinik, you name it, are saying this thing stinks to high heaven. And again, why is it always people being intelligence handled? Lee Harvey Oswald, Tim McVeigh, it's the same formula. Have people that are part of your operation, even if they get caught, you just say they're double agents. And that's what the Israelis are saying. Oh, you know, these guys were sent over under fake IDs. And by the way, they said this before it was in the news. And they're obviously were to infiltrate Muslim extremist groups in the Caucasus Mountain region. But the Israelis didn't point out the West is funding the leader of that group, the Chechenian bin Laden, as he's known. $1 billion or more has been sent to these guys. Same old story like they created al-Qaeda to fight the Russians. And so a group created by our government, as usual, is radicalized and somehow brainwashed. And now they're saying there's a group of 12 guys in a sleeper cell that they're hunting for who help these guys. But the rest of the media is like, no, it's a lone guy. Because the 12 guys are the handlers. And again, they follow an exact paradigm, an exact program, an exact operation. People say, Alex, couldn't there be some real terror? Absolutely. Absolutely. Easter bunnies may exist. I've never seen one. I don't think they exist, but I cannot definitively prove that there are not Easter bunnies living in America. I cannot prove that leprechauns aren't real. I cannot prove that Santa Claus is not real. Now look, are there in some cases in Israel real people that blow stuff up or real people that actually go on a bus and stab folks? Yes. But 9 times out of 10, the Israeli intelligence services, Haaretz, Jerusalem Post have all reported, create fake al-Qaeda to then bomb themselves when they don't want to have a peace process or something. Type in Israel created fake al-Qaeda. You'll get mainstream news. Type in Israel created Hamas in 1973. Now, again, I'm not saying that's how you control the opposition, is you don't like Hezbollah, Iranian-run, a real terror group that's really attacking you. You create Hezbollah that then fights for political control and acts like terrorists to then take up all the resistance that Iran is picking up on, to then mop up everybody and then spy on your resistance. And then if you politically need to get elected or something, just blow something up and blame it on your political enemy. There it is. Israel faked al-Qaeda presence. That's a BBC. And that's a whitewash itself. Here. Let me just show new viewers and radio listeners. Radio listeners can just search whatever I say, and then you can find it for yourself. Just type in MI6 Agent 77 bombings, and you'll get Fox News, Democratic Underground, Infowars.com, BBC, Daily Mail, where the head of the bombings is and was MI6 and is protected. And what did he do? He set up 6 guys with backpacks who thought they were part of a drill. We're going to go back to your calls, but we know these guys were handled by the government. They were clearly allowed to travel in and out of the country with aliases. This is not the FBI dropping the ball. This is the FBI covering up for the CIA and others. Here's some of the articles up at Infowars.com that we're going to be talking about with Wayne Madsen. Mother of suspect says bomber... again, mother of suspect says bombers... Mother of suspect bombers claims FBI called eldest son after bombing before fatal shootout. And come in with us. We're going to get you a lawyer, bud. And then you see him putting him in the car naked. And the next you hear he dies in a shootout. And then his brother runs him over. And then witnesses, we have the videos and news reports up say, no, they ran over him and then pumped him full of bullets. Mother of suspected bombers claims FBI called eldest son after bombing before fatal shootout. And then you've got them pumping hundreds of rounds, saying they were rubber bullets over the radio. They were not rubber bullets. They shot holes right through the boat. You've got cops lining up and then like a firing squad and trying to shoot up the vehicle, the boat, and then he climbs out and is okay, or at least can climb out, and then minutes later they're doing a tracheotomy, it looks like, and now he's sedated but talking to police. Oh, that's great. Kind of like the Aurora shooter supposedly was on 7 psychotropics and in a DARPA program, and now they admit they drug him with sodium pentothal to admit he's guilty. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's what North Koreans do, is grab you and drug you, and then or North Vietnamese. I mean, that's mind control. But see how they just, hey, we got the bad guy. Shut up. This is our city. This is Boston. Everybody buys into the hype when nothing you've been told is true, ladies and gentlemen. And you've got Saudi Arabians on watch list crawling all over this. Let's just ignore that. You've got the media saying we have somebody arrested. Looks like it's going to be a right-winger. And then that all gets flushed after they evacuate the courthouse. And you've got all these operatives and a drill. Oh, and by the way, I forgot that article. It's somewhere in my stack. Will you guys reprint me the article from 2008 where they had a dry run drill a dry run drill at the Boston Marathon. Boston Globe reported. By the way, we haven't even covered that yet. I mentioned it yesterday. Congress exploits our fears to take our liberty. Ron Paul article up at Infowars.com. The brother's aunt claims naked man in video is Tamerlan. And, man, it shows the video. If it isn't him, it's his naked. Oh, they call him up. Hey, how'd the operation go? Yeah, we're not sure who did it. And then, boom, it's in the news. Shocking footage, Americans ordered out of homes at gunpoint by SWAT teams. Well, who needs due process? Martial law is good. Everybody got a big dose of it at Katrina and here now. 17 unanswered questions about the Boston bombing the media is afraid to ask. Video and audio of firefight captured. Claim Boston bomber's last message on Facebook to his father. I have never done it. They set me up. The world of synthetic manufactured terrorism. That's all what's up on the site. Let's jam in a call right now. Let's go to Bob in Michigan. Bob, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for taking the phone call. You're right. I was kind of surprised. I don't listen to you all the time. But when I see something, and to be honest with you, I really didn't watch the news that much either because I know it's just a bunch of propaganda. But I did hear them talk about shooting the rubber bullets and when this guy was in the boat. And what kills me about this is for an average rational thinking person to sit and listen to that where you have somebody in a boat, if anybody owns a boat, especially the size of that boat, what are rubber bullets going to do, and where are they getting the angle to hit this guy?
No, they were saying it, and I heard it over the scanner to confuse the media. And this was hours after, hour and 45 minutes after they'd already shot him up. And they watched him crawl around. They watched his heat, residence there. Then they say, get out. But see, their problem was the media ended up with telephoto lenses getting a shot. And you can hear the cops going, oh, no, the media's got a shot. Because, again, they had a mission to kill him. That's why they said, stay in your house, don't come out.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.